ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. So yesterday we were seeing the wise person as Atma is not moved by anything. The wise person is also, I hope my screen and I'm both audible and visible.
Yes, Balaji.
Yes. Okay. The wise person as Atma is not moved by anything. The wise person is also described here in this verse as Kutastha, one who remains like an anvil, the solid iron block upon which the blacksmiths of yesteryear hammered red-hot iron bits into different shapes. Knives used to be made this way. The point here is that for all the hammering that went on, the anvil itself never changed. Since the iron bits had to change, the block on which they were changing could not change. Therefore, a person who does not change and allows all possible changes to take place is called Kutastha. The person, like the Atma, is not moved by anything. In his commentary to this verse, Shankara defined Kutastha as aprakampya. Aprakampya. One who is not swayed by any situation internally or externally because he or she is Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. This person has gone through the necessary disciplines and has gained the knowledge of Atma as fullness, without which all problems exist. Having gained this knowledge, there is nothing inside or outside to disturb the person. Such a person is strong and unshaken. Aparakampya. The nature of compassion. The beauty of a person is not in his or her nose or hair color. It is in the strength, gentleness, and compassion of the person. Compassion is the readiness to share your time, your mind, your wisdom, your wealth. This readiness to share is strength. Only a truly rich person can share in this way. Therefore, this compassion is the beauty and also the strength of the person. Compassion is not something that one melts into, although it sometimes looks as though out of sheer compassion, people liquefy themselves to the extent that they begin to cry at the plight of another. But this is not compassion, nor does it help anyone. If someone requires help from you and you become liquefied in the process, what help is that? Now you require help from yet another person who may also get liquefied in the process. We need solid people who have the compassion called strength, the compassion that requires inner satisfaction. Such a person is therefore called tripta. It is very beautiful. I'll read this paragraph again. Compassion is not something that one melts into, although it sometimes looks as though out of sheer compassion, people liquefy themselves to the extent that they begin to cry at the plight of another. But this is not compassion, nor does it help anyone. If someone requires help from you and you become liquefied in the process, what help is that? Now you require help from yet another person who may also get liquefied in the process. We need solid people who have the compassion called strength, the compassion that requires inner satisfaction. Such a person is therefore called tripta. So there is a beautiful relationship between contentment and compassion. When the person who is from inside completely satisfied, then he is having that strength to help others out of compassion. How qualifications become spontaneous virtues. Please understand that we are not setting up ideals for ourselves. Rather, there is a condition that is to be understood, wherein the sense organs, meaning the mind and all its fancies, are always mastered. This means that the eyes do not ask, "Come on, take me to see something." And the ears do not say, "I am tired of listening to Vedanta. Take me to listen to some music." It is the unmastered mind with its fancies that makes one go after the sense objects. With reference to fancies, then the person described here is Vijitendriya. What the person wants to do is done, and what he or she does not want to do is not done. I will repeat Vijitendriya again. It is the unmastered mind with its fancies that makes one go after the sense objects. With reference to fancies, then the person described here is Vijitendriya. What the person wants to do is done, and what he or she does not want to do is not done. Because the Vijitendriya has this composure or wisdom, the person is also called Yukta. What were previously sadhanas for him as a mumukshu are now the natural, spontaneous virtues of a wise person. This is the person Krishna calls a yogi here. I will read this line again. Because the Vijitendriya has this composure or wisdom, the person is also called Yukta. What were previously sadhanas for him as a mumukshu are now the natural, spontaneous virtues of a wise person. This is the person Krishna calls a yogi here. It's a beautiful sentence. So the one who is Jitendriya or Vijitendriya, Prashanta, who is always contented and who is having that inner strength, who is Yukta, Tripta, and whose sadhanas as mumukshu have turned into the spontaneous virtues. So Krishna calls him a yogi here. Anyone would like to share? The only security is knowing one is secure in oneself. Further, the person is samaloshta asma kanchana. Sama, Loshta, Asma,
Ashma.
Ashma, Kanchana. The footnote, Loshtah cha Ashma cha Kanchanam cha Loshtashma Kanchanani. Loshtashma Kanchanani Samani Yasya Saha Samaloshtasma Kanchana. One for whom a clod of earth, Loshta, a stone, Ashma, and gold, Kanchana, are one and the same, Sama, equal. This does not mean that the person sees all three as clod of earth, or as stone, or as gold. Equal, Sama, is purely in terms of the person's response to these objects in particular and to all objects in general. For the Sama Loshtaka Ashma Kanchana, there is no security in any of them. For such a person, there is no more security in a precious stone or gold than there is in a clod of earth or a simple rock. Any of the three is as good as the other two. It is so beautiful. I'll read once again. Further, the person is called Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchana. Loshtaha cha Ashma cha Kanchana cha Loshtaashma Kanchanani. Loshtaashma Kanchanani Samani Yasya Saha Samaloshtaashma Kanchana. One for whom a clod of earth, Loshta, a stone, Ashma, and gold are one and the same, Sama, equal. This does not mean that the person sees all three as clod of earth or as stone or as gold. Equal, Sama, is purely in terms of the person's response to these objects in particular and to all objects in general. For the Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchana, there is no security in any of them. For such a person, there is no more security in a precious stone or gold than there is in a clod of earth or a simple rock. Any of the three is as good as the other two. So beautiful. It reminds me of that story of a sage who was gifted a very expensive studded bowl for bhiksha by the king. And once there was a thief, he came to his house. The sage knew that he has come for this bowl. So he kept it outside so that he doesn't have to bother. I think someone had shared that in our Manana group only. So for the person who is real yogi, for him, all three are the same. He doesn't find security neither in the clod of earth, nor in the jewel, nor in the gold or stone.
Can you tell the story, please? Complete the story.
I just did not remember exactly what, but it was like the sage he was invited by the queen or the king, and then he was given in bhiksha the gold studded beggar's bowl, diamond studded. And he took it and he just take it as a, and there was some thief who came, and then the sage came to know that he has come for this bowl, so he doesn't have to do much effort, so he kept that bowl outside his hut. So and then it turned the thief into his disciple, that the person who doesn't have this, he's such a dispassionate about this thing. So I think he told him that this is not a real thing for which he is looking for. I'm sorry, I did not remember the whole story, but it just reminded me.
Somebody
If
can
anyone remembered.
remember and tell. Okay, no problem.
Even though the person understands what gold is and its value, he or she knows that it does not give security and that one's only security is oneself alone. Thus, this description of the wise person, Sama, Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana, is purely with reference to security. The only security there is to know oneself as the truth of everything, without which nothing exists. I will repeat this line. The only security there is to know oneself as the truth of everything, without which nothing exists. When this vision is clear, the person is secure, and because he or she is secure, the person requires no security whatsoever. This being the case, what would his or her vision be towards the so-called securities of gold and the like? Of course, there would be an objective understanding of gold as gold, earth as earth, stone as stone, and their respective values based on their availability to the society. Gold is definitely more valuable than stone because the gold is buried under the earth and stone is not. Wow, such a revealing statement. I will read that sentence again. Gold is definitely more valuable than stone because the gold is buried under the earth and stone is not. If this situation were reversed, stone would definitely be considered to be more precious than gold, and stone ornament would be everywhere. Such a beautiful.
What was the statement before this statement, Bela?
Yeah, I will read this once again. Thus, this description of the wise person, Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchana, is purely with reference to security. The only security there is to know oneself as the truth of everything, without which nothing exists. When this vision is clear, the person is secure, and because he or she is secure, the person requires no security whatsoever. This being the case, what would his or her vision be towards the so-called securities of gold and the like? Of course, there would be an objective understanding of gold as gold, earth as earth, stone as stone, and their respective values based on their availability to the society. Gold is definitely more valuable than stone because the gold is buried under the earth and stone is not. If this situation were reversed, stone would definitely be considered to be more precious than gold, and stone ornaments would be everywhere.
So there is an objective value he gives, but he is not affected by them. He doesn't depend. His security does not depend on these.
Yes.
No, the society,
Satya, he understands that gold is gold and mud is mud. But he does not attach any greater significance. For him, all of them are the same with respect to providing security.
Yes, and the society judges its value depending on its availability.
Availability to society, yes.
So for the yogi, it is the same. Essentially, the only difference between a rock and gold is an objective difference. Gold has a particular atomic weight and is a rare, highly malleable, shiny metal, not subject to corrosion. Because of these particular qualities, which are its nature, gold had a value even before it was converted into the base for the monetary system, a value that was heightened by its being thousands of feet down under the ground. But regardless of how greedy or gold hungry a person is, no one will eat gold. Everyone knows that gold, even in the form of biscuits, is metal and is therefore not edible. This is what is meant by an objective value of an object. So beautiful.
Yeah, to the story of Midas,
Yeah, Midas touch. Even I reminded of that. Yes.
Midas and also Alexander. He was given
Yes.
a golden loaf by the people of the village when he's hungry. And then he says, no, this is not what how can I eat this? And then they tell him, don't you have this, the normal bread in your country? Why are you coming all the way here to get this? So then he kind of realizes that the way he's invading every country in every region ultimately is for a piece of bread, ultimately. So I think that causes him the realization. They say, no, we thought because Alexander the Great does not eat normal bread, he eats golden bread. So they send him a golden loaf.
Wow.
beautiful story. Yeah, yeah.
Insecurity is due to one's subjective values. It is the subjective value thinking that gold is security that makes a person crazy. But does gold always give you security? Suppose, for example, I ask you to watch over a bundle of gold ornaments for me, valued at several $100,000 while I am away. At first, you may agree until you find that you cannot sleep. You keep waking up to see if the gold is still there. Whereas, if I ask you to keep an old vacuum cleaner for me, which weighs much more than the gold, you will not lose any sleep. Even though there is a lot more metal in the vacuum cleaner than there is in the gold, it is not a problem because it does not have the same value as gold. Therefore, does gold give you security or insecurity? Similarly, if you are walking on the street with no money, there is no problem. Whereas if you are carrying money, you feel very insecure and look around to see if any muggers are around. In fact, your very look will signal such people. Muggers are not unintelligent. We are the unintelligent ones. When you have money, it is more intelligent not to look around as though you were expecting to be robbed. The point to note in all of this, of course, is that money is not security in spite of what you may think. And because it is not security, money can make you more insecure. Money does have an objective value. It has buying power, which can provide you with certain comforts. But if you see more in money, if you think that it will make you secure, then the value you have for it is purely subjective. I will read this sentence again. Money does have an objective value. It has buying power, which can provide you with certain comforts. But if you see more in money, if you think that it will make you secure, then the value you have for it is purely subjective. Please remember this sentence. If you see more in money, if you think that it will make you secure, then the value you have for it is purely subjective.
What is subjective? I didn't get it exactly.
Remember, we did the Pratibhasika Satta, Vyavaharika Satta, and Paramarthika Satta, right? The three orders of reality. So, Pratibhasika Satta is something that is subjective. It is individual. How much value each one of us has for money is our own individual subjective, should I say, value that we give. It is individualistic. It is your own. Similarly, the world I create, the world I see, is different from the world you see. So that is subjective. That is pratibhasika. Whereas objective is for, it is vyavaharika satta, which is wherein, for everybody, the gold is gold and mud is mud. And it has its value. It has its objective value there. Paramarthika Satta is the ultimate truth, the only truth.
But if you see more in money, if you think that it will make you secure, then the value you have for it is purely subjective. It's a relative term. I can be happy with 100 rupees. So it's a relative, personal.
You consider a miser who does not want to spend, to a person who has money. Both have money. The person who is a miser does not want to spend at all. He just wants to hoard. Whereas a person who has money and spends money, both of them have a different subjective value for money.
It's such a really wonderful. Everything boils to that only, no? How much secure you are.
I am secure. Everything is subject to change. It is always in a flux. The self alone remains changeless, and that self is me. I am the only one who is secure. Everything else is always changing. My mind is always changing. My thoughts are always changing. And the objects of thought are always changing. Whatever changes is time-bound. It has a beginning and an end. The only thing that remains untouched and comes out unscathed in all of this is I, the self. How to pronounce unscathed? I will
unscathed. Unscathed. Yeah. It doesn't matter how it's pronounced.
Unscathed. Yeah. I'm secure. Everything is subject to change. It is always in a flux. The self alone remains changeless, and that self is me. I am the only one who is secure. Everything else is always changing. My mind is always changing. My thoughts are always changing. And the objects of thought are always changing. Whatever changes is time bound. It has a beginning and an end. The only thing that remains untouched and comes out unscathed in all of this is I, the self. So beautiful. Gurudev always tells this, no? Every time in satsang or in knowledge. This is his. So we have to see that unchanging. If the knowledge of this I is clear, if you have this vision of yourself as secure, then you are a free person. You are a Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. You are one who requires nothing to be free. You simply look out and see the world as it is. The world that you see is a simple world because you do not project all your nonsense onto it. The world remains as it is, and you are a secure, free person. And why does this freedom seem so difficult to gain? Perhaps because it is all so simple, too simple, in fact, it is yourself. Because people always look for something big. This freedom, this security seems difficult to gain. The self being infinite is not something that is produced. Since it is not produced, it cannot be gained through effort. As long as I look for something that can be produced by my efforts, I will always miss out. In areas where I have to grow, effort certainly has its place and involves alertness, among other things. Whereas here, fundamentally speaking, I am already secure. Very beautiful. Does the problem belong to the gold or to the person? There is a story told about a guru by his disciples. It seems that one Shishya, wanting to test the guru's vairagya, dispassion, placed a gold coin under his pillow. When the saint placed his head on the pillow, he found that he could not sleep. He tried everything, but still he could not fall asleep. So great was his vairagya. The Shishya, who was watching all this, realized his mistake and, prostrating to the Guru, admitted what he had done. He then removed the gold coin and the Guru fell asleep. On hearing this story, one can question whether the Guru really had great vairagya. Suppose the coin had been placed under the pillow of one for whom gold was everything. This person also would not be able to sleep for the fear that someone would take the coin. Or if the person did sleep and woke up to find the coin was gone, he or she would not sleep again until the thief had been found and the coin recovered. Thus, we have a person who loses sleep because of the absence of the gold, and another person who loses sleep because of its presence. Who is greater? Tell me. Since both are hooked to the gold, how can it be said that one is greater or lesser than the other? In the Guru's room, there may be a variety of metals, a copper vessel, a metal plate, and iron nails to hold his cot together, doorknobs and locks, all of which are metal. These iron and copper do not affect the person, whereas the gold does. What does this mean? Does the problem belong to the gold or to the person? The gold itself does not do anything. It is just what it is. Metal with its own objective value, like any other metal. It is Bhagwan's creation. Therefore, to a God-inspired person, how can gold be any different than copper or iron, which is also Bhagwan's creation? Are we to take the story to mean that the Guru has a problem or that the Shishya has a problem? It is usually better to give the benefit of doubt to the Guru and take the problem to be the Shishya's problem. Why? Because sometimes when Shishyas praise their Guru, the praise may actually belittle the Guru without the Shishyas intending to do so. In this particular story, the Shishya's vision was that not being able to sleep proved the greatness of the Guru's Vairagya. But all it did was demonstrate the Shishya's lack of understanding of Vairagya. Therefore, because Vairagya may not have been properly understood, the benefit of the doubt should go to the Mahatma, not to the Shishya or those who wrote about him. In other words, we assume that the limitation belongs to the writer, not to the Mahatma, whom we do not know at all. If the person was a Mahatma, he would not have lost sleep over a piece of gold, because as a Mahatma, the person is Sama, Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana. Whether the object is Loshta, a lump of earth, Ashma, a rock, or Kanchana, gold, the person's vision is that each object is the same in the sense that one's security does not lie outside oneself. I hope that the
I
story
did
is
not
clear.
understand the story. He should not lose the sleep, no? Guru.
Yeah, that's what Swamiji has pointed out.
But
So if
he
it,
does he is disturbed by the sleep. Why? Then he is not a Vairagi. How the guna of gold.
That is
no,
why,
maybe
no,
because he was uncomfortable with that something maybe pricking in his in his pillow. He may not know it is gold. This is like giving. Brahmaraji, please continue.
see, I think that is why Swamiji has mentioned when there is this little disparity, you give the benefit of doubt to the Guru. You will not belittle his greatness by saying, oh, see, he does not have Vairagya and therefore he got disturbed. So the writer may have, the way he's projected the story is different, but then he gives the benefit of doubt to the Guru. The Guru has Vairagya. How the Shishya's concept and his understanding of Vairagya was different. Probably if it was a lump of clay that he had placed underneath the pillow, whether it was that, a stone or gold, maybe the Guru would be equally disturbed with respect to that. Is one aspect.
Exactly,
Second,
exactly.
second aspect is, if you go one step higher, if it's true Vairagya, no matter what is under the pillow, he should not be affected. That is, whether there is anything kept under the pillow or there is nothing kept under the pillow, it should be the same for him. That is a higher level of our expecting the Guru to be the Guru. But here, I think in this story, Swamiji very clearly says we should give the benefit of doubt to the Guru. That the Guru is certainly in that space. He's the Jnana Vijnana Triptatma. It is our understanding, the Shishya's understanding, and the writer, who's the way he's projected it is faulty. Our understanding is not right.
It is similar to, if suppose a Brahmin goes to, he's a sattvic food eater, but he is given all masaladar food. So his mind will be disturbed, no? Because of the guna of the material. So the Mahatma means gunatita. Even if it is given, it is not be disturbed. But many of us still in that process. If the food is rajasic, we are affected. The mind is affected. You may not get sleep if you eat very masaladar food and all that, Or sometimes if we eat very heavy, we sleep more. That also happens. So very difficult to analyze it.
I think if you continue to read along, it would be fine. Maybe. Does the story end there? The explanation end there?
Yeah, the story is over. And here it is very beautifully, but Swamiji has pointed out that Vairagya may not have been properly understood by the Shishya, no? The word Vairagya. And his understanding was little different than what he experimented to prove. Okay. So when I will just read the last line. If the person was a Mahatma, he would not have lost sleep over a piece of gold, because as a Mahatma, the person is Sama, Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana. Whether the object is Loshta, a lump of earth, Ashma, a rock, or Kanchana, gold. The person's vision is that each object is the same in the sense that one's security does not lie outside oneself. Gold represents all desirable objects, including relationships. This applies not only to gold but to everything. The gold, Kanchana, is simply an Upalakshana, meaning that it stands for everything else of the same category. I will read once again. Gold represents all desirable objects, including relationships. This applies not only to gold, but to everything. The gold, Kanchana, is simply an Upalakshana, meaning that it stands for everything else of the same category. It even stands for the notion that God is there and will protect me. Since God alone is there, where is the question of Him protecting me? He will protect Himself, which is myself. The security of one who is Sama, Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana does not depend upon anything. To everything, whether it is a lump of earth, a rock, or a piece of gold, the person responds equally, meaning indifferently. Since no one has any great response towards a rock or a clump of earth, why are they brought in here? Simply to show that the wise person's attitude towards gold is the same as his or her attitude towards a pebble or a clump of earth. Just as the clump of earth or pebble does not enhance the person's security, neither does the gold. Generally, gold imbues people with a false sense of security. But in fact, an insecure person does not become secure because of gold. I think I read further so it becomes little clear. And if it is not clear, I will read once again. In the past, the value of gold was purely in terms of its usefulness in ornaments. Now, however, it is used in many ways, even in electronics, and has a bullion value as well. Currency, on the other hand, loses its value, its buying power due to inflation, whereas gold retains its value. Therefore, people have a love for gold and retain their money in the form of gold. Gold has both an intrinsic value and a certain man-made value in that it does give you a sense of security. This sense of security is false because it does not make you secure. The insecure person does not become secure just because he or she has some bars or bricks of gold. The insecure are always insecure. To have bricks of gold simply means that you are attracting thieves and all those other people who would never visit you otherwise. The point being made is that one commonly looks upon gold as providing a sense of security, whereas the wise person looks to oneself alone for security. In fact, the wise person is the only secure person on earth because he or she does not require gold or anything else in the world in order to be secure. I will just read this paragraph once again because the line which Swamiji wrote here is he's comparing it with relationship. So I just want to read. Gold represents all desirable objects, including relationships. Can someone explain? He has compared it. I will read it once again. This applies not only to gold but to everything. The gold Kanchana is simply an Upalakshana, meaning that it stands for everything else of the same category. It even stands for the notion that God is there and will protect me. Since God alone is there, where is the question of Him protecting me? He will protect Himself, which is myself. The security of one who is Sama, Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana does not depend upon anything. To everything, whether it is a lump of earth, a rock, or a piece of gold, the person responds equally, meaning indifferently. Since no one has any great response towards a rock or a clump of earth, why are they brought in here? Simply to show that the wise person's attitude towards gold is the same as his or her attitude towards a pebble or a clump of earth. Just as the clump of earth or pebble does not enhance the person's security, neither does the gold. Generally, gold imbues people with a false sense of security. But in fact, an insecure person does not become secure because of gold. In the past, the value of gold was purely in terms of its usefulness in ornaments. Now, however, it is used in many ways, even in electronics, and has a bullion value as well. Currency, on the other hand, loses its value, its buying power due to inflation, whereas gold retains its value. Therefore, people have a love for gold and retain their money in the form of gold. Gold has both an intrinsic value and a certain man-made value in that it does give you a sense of security. This sense of security is false because it does not make you secure. The insecure person does not become secure just because he or she has some bars or bricks of gold. The insecure are always insecure. To have bricks of gold simply means that you are attracting thieves and all those other people who would never visit you otherwise. The point being made is that one commonly looks upon gold as providing a sense of security, whereas the wise person looks to oneself alone for security. In fact, the wise person is the only secure person on earth because he or she does not require gold or anything else in the world in order to be secure. I think we can have this discussion during our Manana. It is very beautiful. Shall I go ahead to the next verse or anyone would like to share?
Yeah, go ahead, Bela.
Having described the wise person's attitude towards all objects in the world, Krishna then goes on in the next verse to describe the person's attitude towards different types of people. सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीनं मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते. सुहृद मित्र अरि उदासीन मध्यस्थ द्वेष्य बंधुषु. With reference to a benefactor, a friend, an enemy, an acquaintance, an arbitrator, someone who is deserving of dislike, and to a relative. Sadhushu, towards good people. Api, even. Cha, and. Papeshu, with reference to sinners. Samabuddhihi, one whose vision is the same. Vishishyate is the most exalted. Suhrad Mitra Ari Udasina Madhyastha Dveshya Bandhushu Sadhushu Api Cha Papeshu Samabuddhihi Vishishyate. The one whose vision is the same with reference to a benefactor, a friend, an enemy, an acquaintance, an arbitrator, someone who is deserving of dislike, and to a relative, and even towards good people and sinners, he or she is the most exalted. The compound that forms the first line of this verse is so long that Shankara thinks it necessary to confirm that it was one word, Samashta Padam. This compound, Suhrad Mitra Ari Udasina Dveshya Bandhushu, describes various types of people. There are also two other kinds of people described in the verse, the good people and the sinners. With reference to all of them, sadhu shvapi cha papeshu. The wise person's vision or attitude is equal or the same. That is, he is a samabuddhihi. Such a person is the most exalted among all people. Sa saha vishishyate. One by one, let us look at the types of people Krishna mentions and Shankara's definitions of them. Suhrad and Mitra. According to Shankara's definition, a Suhrad is a benefactor, one who extends a helping hand without expecting anything in return. There is a footnote. Pratyupakaram anapeksha eva upakarta Suhrad. Generally, help is extended out of friendship or because some return is expected. But the person who is Suhrad helps without expecting any help in return. A rare person indeed. The next type of person mentioned is Mitra, a friendly person or a person with whom you share a certain understanding of friendship. Here in Suhran, it reminded me of Nanaji's beautiful explanation. He had explained us that sun, trees, all these are our Suhran Mitra. They always give. They do not expect anything in return. So here there is a difference. The Suhrad is the one who does not expect anything in return. And Mitra is a...
Seva people also, they're all Surat, right? People are doing
Yeah.
Seva. They don't expect.
The next type of person mentioned is Mitra, a friendly person or a person with whom you share a certain understanding or friendship. Ari, there is also the Ari, an enemy, Shatru, one who is inimical towards you. Why would a wise person consider anyone as an enemy? You might ask. Enemies are not necessarily created. Sometimes they are just there, especially for a person who is always happy with himself or herself. That the person is always happy is often enough to make certain other people inimical. I will read this again. There is also the Ari, an enemy, Shatru, one who is inimical towards you. Why would a wise person consider anyone as an enemy, you might ask? Enemies are not necessarily created. Sometimes they are just there, especially for a person who is always happy with himself or herself. That the person is always happy is often enough to make certain other people inimical. There are so many reasons for others to be inimical towards you. That you have a longer nose and another person wants to have a similar nose can be reason enough. The other person may have a flat nose, and according to that person, you have a good nose. Therefore, he or she may become inimical towards you without you having done anything to the person. Therefore, an enemy is possible in the society, even for a wise person. Some people may become inimical towards a wise person because of their own beliefs. They may think that a person teaching Vedanta, for example, is Satan himself, simply because he or she is saying that everything is Brahman. Such people may become very hostile towards a wise person and are therefore described as enemies here. Udasina and Madhyastha. Then there is the Udasina, one with whom you have a nodding acquaintance. This is the person you often see at the bus stop or at the gas station every time you go for gas or in the elevator every other day. You simply nod to each other and go about your business. Another type of person mentioned in this verse is Madhyastha, one who arbitrates. If two people are fighting, the person previously mentioned, Udasina, remains neutral and joins neither side. This person just watches and at the most may thank the two who are fighting for the thrill he or she got from watching the fight. Whereas the Madhyastha is an arbitrator, one who is interested in each of the contenders. Therefore, whatever the Madhyastha says is acceptable to both of them. An arbitrator is always appointed based on the confidence that both people have about the person's ability to arbitrate objectively and not take sides. Switzerland, for example, often plays this role in world affairs. When there is a conflict between two countries that has resulted in the closing of one or other embassies, Switzerland is sometimes asked to take over as an arbitrator because it is one country that remains totally neutral. That the Swiss have gained considerably in terms of certain monetary benefits from its neutral status is a result of having lived smartly in this way. I will read this line again, this paragraph again. It is the role of an arbitrator. An arbitrator is always appointed based on the confidence that both people have about the person's ability to arbitrate objectively and not to take sides. Switzerland, for example, often plays this role in world affairs. When there is a conflict between two countries that has resulted in the closing of one or both embassies, Switzerland is sometimes asked to take over as an arbitrator because it is one country that remains totally neutral. That the Swiss have gained considerably in terms of certain monetary benefits from its neutral status is a result of having lived smartly in this way. A Madhyastha is one who does not join any group or either side of a conflict. A person can be neutral, udasina, or desirous of the happiness of all. Hitaishi. If you are a Hitaishi, you try to bring about an understanding between people so that everyone can be happy. And the person who does this is called an arbitrator, a mediator, madhyastha, the literal meaning for which is one who is in between. I think this is, we have to understand here different types of people. If you want me to read anything again, kindly let me know. Udasina, Madhyastha, we have to remember the words Suhrid, Mitra, Ari, Udasina, Madhyastha, and the one who is Hitaishi. People are the society. The types of people mentioned here are people we find in every society. There is no society, in fact, there are only people. Society is not an entity unto itself. It is made up of people, all of whom are referred to in this verse. Any society always includes all these types of people. Whenever there is a dispute or fight between people, there are both friends and enemies. There are also those who want to bring about an understanding, and others who simply stand by and watch. Dveshya and Bandhu. Another type of person mentioned in this long compound is the Dveshya, one who deserves to be disliked because of his or her actions. The Dveshya is someone who is not at all likable according to you because of what the person is or did. Such a person therefore becomes eligible for your dislike. Then there are one's relatives, bandhus, father, mother, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, etc. The people whose opinions really affect you. Because you want them to have a good opinion of you, they can control and manipulate you emotionally and psychologically. I will just read that line again. There are one's relatives, bandhus, father, mother, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, the people whose opinions really affect you. Because you want them to have a good opinion of you, they can control and manipulate you emotionally and psychologically. Sadhus and papas. Finally, Krishna mentions two more types of people, sadhus and papas. Footnote, papa here means a sinner, a papi. The word papa means sin, and the one who has sin is also called a papa. Papam asya asti iti papaha. A person who follows very closely what is enjoined in the Dharma Shastra is called a sadhu here. And one who does not is called papa or papi. The sadhu is found in every society. He or she is the person who follows what is right and avoids what is wrong. The opposite type of person is also found in every society. Those who always transgress the norms laid down by the Shastra. What is not to be done according to the Shastra and the society is done, and what is to be done is not done. These actions are called papas, and the person performing them is called a papi. The Shastra does not specifically say that you should not take drugs because a drug problem was not there at that time. Simply because the Shastra does not say not to do something is no reason to do it. If you say you do not take alcohol because the Shastra specifically says it is not to be taken. But you do take heroin. You should not think you are conforming to the Shastra. If people had been taking drugs in those days as they are today, the Shastra would have certainly included drugs along with alcohol as substances to be avoided. The mention of alcohol in Shastra is an upalakshana, meaning that it stands for all substances that are harmful to you. I think, should I stop here? Because it is still very long. And the kind of discussion over the last few minutes, I think it is our day-to-day interactions it affects. So we will have, I will stop here and we will have just few minutes of closed eye meditation for a few seconds, and then kindly share and contribute your understanding of today's Manana. Hari Om, kindly share your inputs. We will begin from the verse which we started with. Anyone can just some focus on that where Swamiji has compared gold, stone, and the precious stone with relationship.
Many times we make relationship because of security, you see. Who will look after me? My son should look after me and all that, We are insecure. Therefore, many people make relationship. So if you have Shraddha in Atma only, means yourself, you have secured in yourself only, then you don't need to look for security outside. So many times we have read Charitra, Atma Charitra of many sadhus. They just leave the house. They don't have any security problem at all. Who will give me the food? Where I will sleep? Where I have to go? Shankaracharya has left at 7 years, I think. And many sadhus we have learned at 5 years, 6 years, they leave the house. The friends follow it, but they cannot cope up with the person who is Swami. Who will feed them? No, they become hungry. But the person who is stable within himself, he doesn't bother. He is not bothered about the food or the house or the relationship or anything. That is what is Sama. He sees everything same, and he is secured in himself, in the Atmanishta. So he doesn't look any security, he doesn't marry or he doesn't have any relationship. So that is that in the meaning of that,
Yeah.
I can
See, all
I
yeah,
can
go ahead.
share some light on this. Uh, Once I was somewhere in Orissa taking an advanced course, and at that time that coal mine scam had come out, where a lot of politicians were involved in the coal mine scam. There was a bureaucrat who wanted to give money for a temple of knowledge to be opened in Orissa. He was a very wise person, but he had done the course, and now uh, he didn't want to accept the money. But they have to accept the money that comes to them as a bribe or whatever you want to say. Otherwise, they'll be shunted to some far off place or something like that location. You have to be one of them. So he thought of using the money for a good purpose for the temple of knowledge to come up in Orissa. So the teachers were in a predicament, and they were, how can we take money from a person who's, this is black money and all those kind of things, is the thought process. Like what this Swami probably could not get sleep with the gold under his pillow, gold coin. So I was told to ask. And then, Gurudev had such a fantastic reply. He said, अरे भाई लक्ष्मी वहां तड़प रही है उसके पास, उसको छोड़ा लो. Means Lakshmi, the money that he is having is in turmoil over there. Get the money to us. We are using it in good, for good purposes, for the purpose of, we are using it in projects for uplifting people. So why should we not take the money from there? It is actually being freed from there and being used for a good purpose. See the whole way of is looking at the amount of money to come in. So
Fantastic, Persiji. It's very nice.
the whole sense of the whole, even I was like, I didn't have that kind of a thought process. I was wonderstruck with what Gurudev said about this whole process. Like Lakshmi tarap rahi hai wahan pe. My God, I was blown away. And then he started building the temple of knowledge for us with that money. Jai Guru.
I think in these two, thank you, Percy ji, for that wonderful anecdote. These two verses are talking about the lakshanas of a jnani, of a jnana vijnana triptatma. So these virtues become sadhana tools for all the mumukshus. That is number one. Second is that when he compares he compares this gold to relationships, right? There is a point where he talks of how for God you expect God to come and save you, whereas for a jnani, even that is not there because he is God, he is secure himself. So even that relationship, that ultimate relationship, having that God as concept itself is not there for him. Whereas for a sadhak, for us as mumukshus, we of course have to consider Ishvara as being there. So that, I think that is the, maybe that's the understanding there. When he has reached that stage where he is a jnana vijnana tripta, he's tript in himself, he is secure. He does not look to any other relationship to provide him the security, including the relationship towards God. Because he is God himself. That's what Krishna says. A jnani is me. Jnani is, he comes to me and he becomes me. He is me. But for us as mumukshus that are still on the path and have not yet attained the goal, that difference will still be there a little bit, will be there. So these are all the lakshanas of the jnani, which become our sadhana tools. These are our benchmarks, basically. The compassion, compassion that comes out of contentment. Compassion, is very beautifully described by Swamiji, is not just melting down and crying along with the other person who's also suffering. Then both of you require help. Compassion comes from the state of fullness, contentment, that you don't require anything else. And you empathize with the person and you're able to help him come out of his misery.
It is the inner satisfaction one has for compassion.
If gold is a metaphor here, which represents all the material things, anything can relationship or for security and all that. And then he says, subjective. It's a sort of subjective feeling it brings. How much importance we are giving to that. Everything has its own place, but we give undue importance to, as per according to the society. So I felt like this. Thank you.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And the way Swamiji has described, I mean, in detail, he has given the analysis so well. I mean, the way he has compared gold and why it is precious, it is so admirable. Yeah, kindly share everybody, please. We will have whatever you have understood out of these both verses. This verse is like a previous verse, what we have seen now, that the person who sees even the dog eater and I mean, everybody equally.
Yeah, Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha Panditah Samadarshinaha. I think that comes in maybe the second chapter.
Yeah, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Brahmane
Gavik Hastini.
Sunichaiva, that comes in this chapter only, or fifth chapter, I think. Not in second.
Now, one more thing is, it is not that he will not take care of his body, he does not eat. It is not that. He does whatever is required to take care of his body. But then he does that with that non-doership. Even a sadhu, even a jnani eats. But he will only do that to take care of his physical body.
Therefore, he takes bhiksha, no? Whenever he is hungry, he will just go and ask. Whatever he gets, he eats. Only some sadhus I've heard, they only go to 5 people only. If they get within that 5 people, they eat. Otherwise, they will sleep like that. I heard that way also. They are not bothered.
Very
what
true. That's
what
why that gooseberry, that woman who was very poor, who could offer only gooseberry, then she had, I mean, it was his vow only to limited bhiksha only. And that day only she had to be the host for giving bhiksha, and she could not give anything else except that small gooseberry.
See, when you compare how a baby, say a 6-month-old baby, even a 1-year-old child takes, for him, there is no difference between a lump of clay, gold, and a stone. They're all the same for him. Similarly, a jnani has the same samadarshana of all of them.
For a child, whomsoever anybody loves, it goes to them. It doesn't matter. Okay. Daily he sees the mother and all that. That for he knows his mother and this one. But whoever loves the child goes to them without knowing, without insecurity. You see.
Yeah, that is the
Say,
6-month-old baby. But once the baby starts recognizing strangers from 7-8 months onwards, that is different.
That
So
is
the
different.
moment he sees the other and he knows the difference, he is different. But whereas up until 6 months, all babies are the same. They go to anyone, like how you said. For them, everybody is the same. To a certain age, up to a certain age. After that, they make out the difference. So coming back to that innocence of a baby, coming back to the innocence of a baby out of jnana, with knowledge. That is a jnani.
yes, because the child doesn't have, the intellect is not developed, so they don't know, the discriminative intelligence is not there. So.
And how it is the relationship is compared here. If you remember the last few verses we've studied, we've learned that a bandhu can also be a limitation, a binding factor, can be a bondage. So you go beyond even that.
Because emotionally is controlling you by his, giving support.
Yeah, that line was very nice. I would love to read that again. But
Yeah,
before
read that.
Shankari ji has put a note in chat. My takeaway is not to waste time to collect properties, gold as security. Only which is sufficient for surviving is enough. It is better to work for seva and moksha with knowledge. Please correct me if I'm not correct.
That's what is all about, minimalistic lifestyle, too little is too much. The concept is coming back now slowly. Environmental conscious people, they don't want to accumulate more than one house. It's all coming back.
Swamiji's analysis is such a beautiful, the difference, the minute differences with which he puts the definition of each word is so nice. We have to be Suhrin Mitra for everybody, Suhrid, without expecting anything in return. And this Ari definition is also nice. You collect such people when you are happy by yourself. They cannot see you happy.
Absolutely, that's true. People,
Yeah, so true it is.
yes, they feel jealous if somebody is happy without anything and joyfully they're living. They can't stand.
Yeah.
They have everything. They may be having all sorts of, wealth, but they feel jealous of.
I think we should have compassion for them.
Very true, very true.
Then Udasina and Madhyastha. This also he described so well that there are some spectators, no, who enjoy the show when the fight is going on. They take the selfie and they click that they record the shooting and
Yeah, tamasha dekhne aate hain log, you know.
yes, yes. And there are Hiteshi, those who are for the welfare of the people who do not like to see the fight and they try to. His definitions are also fine. That the types of people mentioned here are people we find in every society. There is no society, in fact, there are only people. Society is not an entity unto itself. It is made up of people, all of whom are referred to in this verse. So it also reminds me of Gurudev's three categories of people, सच्चे, कच्चे, लुच्चे. तीनों के साथ आपको रहना आना चाहिए. He always tells, no?
Also pakke, he says sache, kache, luche, pakke.
अच्छा, okay, सच्चे, कच्चे, लुच्चे, पक्के.
Pakke log hote there. When you're reading that, you know, arbitrator, it took me to Gurudev, how he resolved all the Columbia conflict and all that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how in that last that Delhi's cultural festival, how people had opposed, and I mean it was people could not see how can they organize such a beautifully the event, and they had the oppositions, and how beautifully he managed to settle everything. Dveshya and Bandhu. Another type of person mentioned in this long compound is the Dveshya, one who deserves to be disliked because of his or her actions. The Dveshya is someone who is not at all likable according to you because of what the person is or did. Such a person therefore becomes eligible for your dislike. Then there are one's relatives, bandhus, father, mother, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, etc. The people whose opinions really affect you. Because you want them to have a good opinion of you, they can control and manipulate you emotionally and psychologically. I think, but in all this, when you are from inner core of you, if you are satisfied, contented, and happy, nothing can shake you. Whether they are your own people or outsider.
You will not work to please someone, no? Otherwise,
Yes.
all our life, we end up wanting to please XYZ.
Very true.
So rather than pleasing someone and to always remain in the good books of someone, doing what is to be done, removing without that the sense, depending on the aspect of security, because I want to maintain the relationship, I want to be good, be in his good books. That is superfluous living.
We always wait for the approval of others. What they will say, whether they approve or not approve. Anything we do that way. That is the difficult part. So once we are stable in ourselves, whatever anybody says, you will do what is needed.
Do what is needed.
This Dvesha and Bandhu, If you look at it in our courses, whatever participants come, the major complaint is about how people in their own families are hurting them. Some cases even where they are even contemplating divorce and all that. And if you look at it, it is mostly because that person is totally focused on providing for his family, emotionally as well as in other ways. And that is why, and the people who are hurting him most, you understand that to be the family members only. So how much of that, if you can just shift your focus to the entire society, like Gurudev says, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one big family, and start doing seva, automatically that focus will shift from me, mine, my family to the entire world outside. It's like a frog in a well who doesn't know the world outside is so huge. The people who are hurting you are your own family members, hurting you the most. In all those family conflict resolution that we have to do. We need to change our focus, have a better vision, not be like a horse with blinkers on, cannot see what is going on the sides, just right in front only. This is a very important paragraph, Dvesha and Bandhu.
Yeah. Rather than seeking to get something from the relationship, wanting to just give. When you're in the space of getting something from the relationship, you come from the space of insecurity. You want to get something from that relationship or the situation so that you feel secure. Whereas in an uplifted consciousness, you want to give. This applies to all relationships, whether it's a mother-child relationship or a husband-wife or friend with your friends. It is how much of a space of giving you are in. When you're giving, you already are full and therefore you can give. Whereas when you're in the space of seeking, you want to get. You are yourself insecure and you feel that something that you get from that relationship fulfills you.
Another thing what I found was that chasing gold is of no value, chasing money. When you are fully in surrenderment to the master, he looks after your needs. You are in full faith, you have full faith in what he does. Everything just falls into place. You just keep doing your seva, and he just looks after whether it is your family needs. I've seen so many such instances in my life where he has provided for me. I've never had to stretch out my hand. But it just happens. You have to have full faith and you have to be in total surrenderment. And you keep doing work for the entire world, wherever you are located. Like, not just family all the time.
I agree with you, Persiji. I have also got so many experiences that way. Automatically your Yogakshema is seen, is taken care of.
Jai Gurudev, the quality of not judging a person, which in which category does it fit in? It's you don't judge the person, seeing his or her qualities. Like if maybe she's acting in a certain fashion, you start labeling that person. So in which category would we put that person in?
No, we have to accept it. You are not accepting, therefore you are judging.
Yeah, I was just thinking that person would be a suhurat or a bandhu, or I was just categorizing that thing.
Suhrad is completely different, Savitaji.
Surad is not expecting anything in return.
Yeah. It keeps on giving. I mean, in that
Yeah.
space, what
But
Brahmaraji just now said, no?
Yeah,
That you are just giving, not to expect.
that is not expecting anything in return. But judging people is also is not a good quality. So
Yeah.
So then you are not sama, no?
See,
The sama
Gurudev
is-
says comparison and criticism are demonic qualities. In the advanced course, which we have offline, there you praise yourself, praise your partner is a process that we do there. And he says praising is a divine quality. And then in the end, he says comparing and criticizing people is a demonic virtue. Why should we sit in judgment over people? See how he told me about that IAS officer who was corrupt, who came around. He got completely transformed after doing our course. And he wanted to put all the money. Gurudev never sat in judgment over him. He is a corrupt official, he is still accepting bribes that come his way. Nothing like that. He just had his own way of figuring it out. तो वहाँ लक्ष्मी तरफ रही है. Let us use it for good purpose here. Lakshmi will be happy here. So he never sits in judgment. Why should we sit in judgment?
yeah, so that category would be, I think it would be Ari. It's like that person is a type of enemy to himself or herself only. Who is
I think this I will read once again tomorrow. We will start from here, I think. There is a difference, Ari and Ripu. Ripu is, I mean, they both denote the Shatruta. I think tomorrow we will have more discussion and Manana, since we have to respect the time. It is already 5 minutes. Is it okay if we continue tomorrow, everybody?
Yes,
Yeah.
Belaji. Fine.
yes.
Yeah. May I say the Shanti prayer now? Brahmaraji?
Yes, please go ahead, Bela.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashit Dukhabhag Bhavet Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Tat Sat Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Dhanyavad Sarvebhya.